Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Erin, your social media director for this club, and we're going to be going over project management and GitHub Desktop. It is perfect to know this because if you're trying to pitch a game, this is an essential skill to have. Also, please help support the club. You can become a VIP member and you get like a 15% discount on all merchandise, such as shirts and keychains. So that's fun. And that'll also help support us with our socials, like help with funding for that on our merchandise. Here's some more examples of our merchandise and that 15% discount spread out around. Here is the merchandise form if you're interested. I'll leave this up for a couple more seconds. Today's agenda, we're going to be going over what project management is and its 3 steps into accomplishing it. And then we'll be going over GitHub Desktop at the end with the video that Dachi created. Okay, what is project management? Project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. It involves planning and organizing resources to achieve a specific goal. In this case, it will be your MVP. And not only is this good for making your game pitch, but it's also a transferable skill that can be used for any other projects that you do in the future. The 3 steps to project management are communication, organization, and reminders. Number 2, communication. Communication is great because it makes sure you and your teammates are all on the same page when creating your MVP. This is what I do when I first start a project, and it's been working for me. What I like to do is make a Discord server for your game project. And then when you have your first meeting, I recommend to do icebreakers to get to know your teammates. For example, you can ask them questions like, what's your name? What's your major? What's your year? Or what's your favorite band? It's another way to make friends that way as well. And another thing I like to use to schedule meetings is when to meet. When to meet is great because it allows your teammates to select what times and days they're available. Okay? And I recommend to hold a meeting like every 2 weeks. Don't do it too much. I think people are busy because it's college. Let me show you when to meet. This is when to meet. It's a great free website. What you can do is put the meeting name here, for example, meeting 1, and then you can choose how you want the layout to be, like specific dates, like I want it this day, or I want it Wednesday, or Saturday, or you can change it to days of the week, like only in these days only. And then you can change like the earliest you can start your meeting or the latest. Pretty cool. And then when you're done setting this up, you create events. And then this is what your teammates will see. They're able to put their name, like my name Amaya or Erin, and then they sign in and then they're able to click and drag which days. Let me put it as an example. Okay. Like click, drag, boom. Now it shows that. And then if someone else did the same thing and they did another day and the same day, it'll show which days are available at the same time, which is pretty cool. And then that's it. Next up, organization. Organization is great for preventing confusion and knowing what to expect, especially when it comes to your teammates being confused because you know your project, but they don't. Not yet, at least. Okay. What I recommend is using Discord. Discord is free. Not only that, but it has lots of great tools. So when you make your Discord server, I recommend to make text channels dedicated to assets needed for your game. For example, if you look at the screenshot here, I put concept art or assets or even programming channels here. I even put an announcements channel for when to schedule our next meetings. Moreover, I like to use threads for tasks. Right here, example I use for my game Plague. I would make a thread right here, and then I would click on the thread and then specify what I want to happen in this programming task that I assign. Another great tool is Google Docs. When it comes to Google Docs, you can use it for brainstorming, and I recommend as a game pitch team leader to plan ahead before you have your first meeting, or to even go over this with your teammates if you're still unsure if you how you want your game to be. Like go over story, what kind of game you want, the gameplay, game engine, what kind of perspective, like first person or third person, and even provide some of your inspirations, like for art style or for even gameplay style, stuff like that. And if you look over to the screenshot, this is a reference I made for this workshop. I provided a little chart here, like the who, what, where, when, why, 5 Ws. Why should you fill this out? I think, yeah, despite it's like elementary grade, but I think it's still useful because if you fill that out with what you want in the end, your teammates will fully understand what kind of story you want, right? Another thing what you can use Google Docs for is a timeline. This is very important, and you need to be sure that you be realistic and considerate of your teammates' schedules too. With keeping in mind it's an MVP, I recommend to assign necessary tasks and make sure to keep them minimal. Do not overcomplicate them, or it may cause your teammates to procrastinate or to even like drop out. It happens, life happens, or even ghosting. Ghosting, I know that's happened a bit. I've had that happen to me before, but I think a way to deal with that is to like reach out to them with DMs if they ghost you. It happens. And if you don't respond within a week, I suggest finding someone else to do that task, or to do that task yourself, or to drop that task overall. So, or like, pretty much move on. Because stressing out over stuff like that can be stressful, especially as the team lead, especially when it's an important task too. Okay. And moving on from that, I also suggest adding due dates to your tasks and use them as like soft deadlines, right? Soft deadlines for like some progress on the task. I don't think the task should be done right away by that day, but I do think some progress is fine, and extensions are also fine, especially if the teammate asks for it. And as I mentioned here, also recommend to have teammates assign the task themselves. If they're interested in making sprites or backgrounds or UI, should be like a first come first serve type thing, where they get to type in their name and then their due date, because they know their schedule better than you. No, you got to be considerate of that. Let me show you a Google Doc that I made for this. This is the Google Doc I made for you guys, where it shows what I went over earlier, like the brainstorming, get to fill that out, and like the timeline. So yeah, I provided other things too that are extra, but I won't be going over them as much. But I hope this helps. I'll be sending that after this meeting, by the way. Okay, moreover, the last thing to project management is reminders. Reminders are great to not forget, because life can get busy with college and jobs. For reminders, one thing you can do is use the Discord calendar feature, and you can use that as a reminder instead. It's like the calendar event thing. I think that's what it's called. Pretty cool. And another thing you can do for reminders is using Discord for meeting check-ins. Like every 2 weeks is fine, I think. Like in the voice chat. Moreover, there's this free app called Notion, free calendar app, and you can put which tasks are due each day if you need to. And I think it has like a notification feature, so it actually notifies you. I'm not sure if the Discord calendar feature notifies, but I do know it sends out like notifications, but not really like sound notifications, but Notion does. So that's why I provided both. Now, here is the summary of project management. Number one, for communication, you can use Discord and When to Meet. For organization, you can use Discord and Google Docs. And for reminders, you can also use Discord and Notion. So basically, I recommend mainly using Discord, When to Meet, and Google Docs when it comes to making your game pitch idea. Here are the free resources. I'll also be providing them in an announcements and a resources channel, but you're also free to scan the QR codes and get all the resources right now. So I'll leave this up for a little bit right now and wait.